Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Empire Interviews. So this is going to be a good one today. We're going to be talking about tripping, right, and proof of travel and the revolution coming to us, right, from Web3 and Mintpass. And it's going to be an exciting conversation. Get to know a little bit behind, the man behind Mintpass. And let's get into it. All right. So here we are with Sam Simmons of Mintpass. How you doing, Sam? How are things?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Dude, I'm glad to see you again. We had a great time, I think, at Rare Evo. You know, um, had a really good time at the Poker Ghost studio, right? And
Yeah.
how did that go?
This,
How was that experience? You were with some legends there at the table, right? You had the altcoin daily twins, right? And then there was Crypto Face. You had all these people. Adam Dean, who I'm not sure if you're familiar, but he's like, kind of a legend over on the Cardano side. And then Charles Hoskinson was supposed to sit at the table, but, he was out doing, billionaire things. So, I mean, how much money can you offer a billionaire to be somewhere? You know what I mean? It's like, I'll do
yeah,
what I
it's
want.
a lot. A lot is
Yeah.
needed, but not enough apparently. But no, it was good hanging out there. And I'm not a big Cardano guy historically, but I always enjoyed just like an enthusiast for this space, the chance to see what other smart people are working on. So we spent some time on the convention floor, and I felt like I felt when I first got into Web3, being there in just getting to sort of run around and look at shiny objects, which is part of my favorite one of my favorite things to do in this world is just enjoy what people are working on. And that's how I treated that weekend, was an opportunity to do that, which I thought was really cool.
Did you was there anything that surprised you? I guess because it was more of a Cardano centric event, but there were a lot of different cross-chain projects. Was there anything that particularly caught your eye or anything that you were surprised about, from a ghost chain with vaporware?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess no surprises. We keep saying Cardano conference, but I'm going to put an asterisk on that because I know that the Rare Evo guys also don't want to be known as a Cardano conference, and
Yeah.
there are other projects and there's cross chain, and that's just Cardano. I think is like one of the primary ecosystems that they've partnered with early on to get a foothold. But I know a lot about their plans behind the scenes. I'm not at liberty to share. I know they have a lot of big things to come both in and out of Cardano. So there's a lot of growth to be had with what they're doing at Rare Evo. But yeah, no, I think I just, again, back to it, like I didn't know much about the Cardano and other ecosystems. I've always been heavily into sort of like the ETH, certainly Base, Polygon ecosystems, a little bit of Arbitrum as well. So it was this amalgamation of things I haven't paid a lot of attention to. And I think in aggregate, that was what was surprising to me, is how much life, how much vibrancy, and how much positive energy there was over there. And I think positive is the operative word, because it's not always a positive space to be in, largely dependent on market cycles. And it was refreshing to be boots on the ground amongst builders who, like, we're in a bit of like a flat period over the past few months, but I definitely get the energy of, regardless of market cycles, just cool people to be around, positive people to be building with. And, that as a builder myself, that gives me a lot of energy. So I largely enjoyed it, and look forward to going back.
Yeah, and so you didn't last long at the poker table. Our mutual friend Aaron, right? He didn't want to leave. It was incredible.
He didn't. He did not want to leave, and he had to pay rent shortly thereafter. He was there for so long. We almost charged him for it, but he did much better than I did. We had a really poor showing. I think get into this in a little bit more in the conversation as we go along, but I have a long history of poker in my professional life as well as my personal life. So I frankly went into it a little bit big-headed over my ability to compete with those that participated in that event, and I did nothing but underwhelm throughout. So very poor showing on my part, but just means I'll have to come back and try it again next time.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and it was cool to be so close to all those different builders and well-known characters in the space in general. I was like in the bathroom and then start talking to this guy. It turns out to be Crypto Face, the guy that I used to watch on YouTube. He would be like, watch me move the entire market, right? Sell like 1,000 Bitcoin while shorting at the same time on another exchange. And you would just watch the entire price of the market move down. Yes. So we're not in the same time now. It would be very hard for somebody to do that now. However, I mean, legends is in this space that have been around for like quite some time. It was cool to be so close to so many. I'll definitely say that. Rare Evo definitely surprised me. Just with how many activities there were and how like spot on I felt like everything was. One of my favorite things, which you didn't take part in, but I hope you will next year, is the Hops on Cardano. Their beer like centric gathering, and the beer that they came out with was very good, and like it was just cool. They had like 200 people in a brewery, and it was very chill. It didn't actually feel like the conference, right? It felt like, a craft brewery, like specialty type thing, like fan club. So it felt like an auxiliary event that was very much its own kind of thing. And it was definitely cool to be talking to people for like 15 to 20 minutes. And then they say their Twitter handle and you're like, oh crap, I've been talking to you for years. I've been playing poker on the internet with you for years. I had no idea who I was talking to. It's a very weird space. Everybody behind a PFP or a brand, right? And then you finally like get to see the people behind the brand. So I want to jump into your past. So for a lot of people, like the move or the transition into Web3 is kind of like an out of the box, very unique direction for anyone to go. But I want to know, what is your background? Like, what are some of the early things that you did that were very, I guess, like not Web3 that then you felt like sort of built you into this place where then you saw a unique niche in this space?
Yeah, no, it's appreciate you asking, and it's like a lot of people does not come from Web3 roots, and everyone kind of has like their rabbit hole moment of their why they get involved, and that's only the tip of the iceberg, and you get in deep into the weeds of all the different aspects of it, and then you lose control from there and end up spiraling downward in the best way. So that was the case for me. So I mentioned I used to work in poker, so we played that event at the Poker Go studio. That's who I used to work with and for. We created a poker streaming network I was there from 2014 to 2020. We took a long and kind of every which way direction to get to where we ended up, where we launched as a TV network at first, and then created a streaming service. And we created it in 2015, launched it in 2016, and then we ran it for about 4 years, and that's still operating today in the year 2024. Since my absence, but yeah, I was around the poker industry for many years, and my sort of gateway drug for getting involved in this world, I guess, was twofold. But one, there's a reason why a poker event is so popular for crypto people, but on the flip side, crypto is very popular for poker people because they're both, as I think about them, like constructive degen activities where there's a bit of like a gambling theme to them, but with the purposes of actually making money, as opposed to what is often the case for most traditional gamblers, like slot machines and blackjack and the like, where you're destined to lose. Like, there is real value to be had for those that are good at what they do, whether that be trading crypto, whether that be playing poker, and so much in between. So I was exposed to crypto very early because a lot of the online sites were using that as a medium for exchange, and it was very, very good for that reason, because you could send it across borders very easily without fees, and just the use case was front and center for me, and seeing a lot of poker players interface with it, just, to be honest, wasn't that enthused by it. For me, it was very much like a investment only, set it and forget it. We want the number to go up, we don't want it to go down type proposition. I didn't really have this big picture perspective of like, here's how decentralized token currency could change the world. And for me, it was just like, number go up, me happy, number go down, me sad. So all the while I was working in the media space and super serving, as I still think of it as, super serving a passionate audience of poker fans. And like a lot of people, NFTs came into the purview for me in like that 2020, 2021 era. And all of it kind of came to a head where, well, I didn't enthused by the financial use case of Bitcoin, let's say. I was very enthused by the community use case of NFTs. And I saw there a lot of potential in bringing together human capital over shared interests, passions to form communities that are brand driven. And so that was sort of my entry point to say, like, okay, this is something, I don't know what it is yet. It's a new shiny object, but I think it will be something incredible. Let's drop everything we're doing and go in full time, very responsibly. So that was 2021 for me, and I've been doing this ever since. And that's what led to now what I'm working on in travel with Mintpass, trying to create this cool experience around basically bringing people closer and together over a shared interest in travel.
That's really awesome. That's super cool. So, well, you mentioned something that I thought was interesting about using basically cryptocurrencies as a medium for gambling online. Is that correct? Or different like wagering type things?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. I mean, gambling, it has a number
poker.
of entendres there. Whether it be like
Yeah.
actually like using crypto as a currency to buy into gambling, or whether the currency is the gamble itself with like meme coins and whatnot. But just the culture of gambling permeates throughout the industry.
Gotcha. Well, because I was going to ask if you had ever played on, I think it was called Ultimate Bets.
That was Ultimate Bet is,
and it ended up being a scam, right? They ended up taking all the money, and they had
Bet, like the Black Friday scandal.
Yes, I think that the actual originator, he had an ability to like see like God mode, see people's cards, and actually like all kinds of stuff. And apparently, it's tied to Dan Friedberg, who Dan Friedberg is the structurer or orchestrator of what became to be known as FTX. Fun fact, in case you didn't know that. But that was just kind of an interesting segue, like as far as like how things, I feel like a lot in the crypto industry, a lot of times there were things that started, like even Bitcoin oftentimes was originally used for exchanges on Silk Road and like the dark web and different stuff like that. But then once those use cases that were like negative fell apart, then the true use cases of all the things, I guess, began to flourish into this massive market that is crazy and exponentially growing. I'm excited that we're right now at the bottom of the hockey stick part of the market. If assuming that, you know, the entire global market doesn't actually fall apart here in a little bit because of, you know, global war.
But. Yeah, and I think that's all true, but I also think that like that arc can be described for any innovative technology of the past however long. Like, I mean, it seems silly now to think about like, you know, the Nigerian prince scam by email, but like the number of people when email first came out that like fell for stuff like that because it was just such a new thing. Like, why would I not trust this email from someone that says they're wealthy and wants to send me money? But like the people, as there is a familiarity to the technology and also like safety rails put around the technology such that people who are new to the technology are able to more properly interface with it, that stuff improves over time. And so just by definitionally, there are less of those guardrails in place for this because it is decentralized, it is truly user owned, and all of the things like intermediaries are removed, but with those intermediaries comes a degree of like trust and a safety blanket. So if you can't have both things be true, where you have the safety of the intermediaries without having the intermediaries. So it's gonna take time, and I think it's user experience driven. But I think it's just worth noting that while yes, there's been a lot of, I guess, less than savory use cases for the technology, I think that's where every technology starts, is like people trying to exploit it for their own personal gain, which is really where a lot of this just comes from.
Absolutely. So let's see. The obvious, I think, low-hanging fruit is it's the last trip you went on, and where was it to? And what was your favorite part of that trip?
Oh, that's a good question.
If you say Vegas, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, no, well, I don't count my trips home, being that I live in Vegas. My last trip was 3 weeks ago to New York, and I was there for a wedding. And my favorite part of the trip was going to this is a dumb part of the trip, but this is what comes to mind. Going to the Nintendo store, which is like one of those just like fan sort of like t-shirts and plushes and video games and stuff. And I'm like a gaming nerd at heart, growing up with like all the Pokemon IP and Mario and all of that. And it was just fun. It was just fun to like be like tourist mode or walking around NYC and getting to do stuff like that and feel like an idiot, but enjoy it all along the way. And I ended up, I don't know if anyone knows this reference, but I bought a Nook Ink shirt, which is like green with the leaf on it because it's from Animal Crossing, for those that might be familiar. But I had to buy the merch. So yeah, that was probably my favorite part, albeit like a silly part of it.
That's awesome. Well, did you well, I don't know if this was possible at the time, but I was going to say, did you mint your experience there?
I did. I have that on my profile in Mintpass. So if you
Oh,
were to follow me, you would see that New York trip there.
that's fantastic. All right. So then I guess tell us what Mintpass is, because like when I think of travel, right, a lot of people think of like TripAdvisor and these different kinds of things. Tell me about Mintpass, what it aspires to do, and then how it is different, right?
Yeah, sure. So the stat that we just always go back to, which is unsurprising for a lot of people, is that 84% of travelers made their last travel decision based upon a word of mouth recommendation, which again is like duh. Like we all ask our friends what to do when we travel, but I think for me the surprise was how often we defer to that information in what is our most key decision point for traveling, which is making booking decisions. And if you think about how that information is accessed, it's actually very hard to access and very difficult, where you're relying on a lot of offline peer-to-peer direct word of mouth conversation, and not only from the standpoint of outreach and identification of great recommendations from people you know and trust, but also the storage of that information being in the likes of applications, or I should say notes applications, spreadsheets, calendar apps, even like just text message and DM, just having like random lists strewn about of things that people have done when they've traveled. And just the real unlock was realizing how much of our lived experiences goes towards other people's travel inspiration and vice versa. How we seek out the lived experiences of our friends to power our travel decisions. For that matter, to cite the last example, next time you're in New York, that trip to the Nintendo store may come into the back of your mind, and you may seek to go there now because I mentioned it here in passing as a word of mouth recommendation. So all of that combined, we saw this white space at the end of funnel, if you will, in the travel booking experience. Like we've done the search on TripAdvisor, we've looked at Google, we've looked across general social media, TikTok, Instagram, influencers, all the like, and now it's time to actually plan our travels. And what we always go to is the people we know and trust, and we have a hard time accessing that information. So how do we use Web3 incentive alignment to drive that behavior of sharing our lived experiences with others, and then providing back to those who contribute that information for other people's travel planning? So that's what Mintpass basically is. So we use this sort of, I think of it like a mix of Pokemon Go mixed with Foursquare mixed with POAP. So whenever you travel, you collect what we call digital souvenirs, which are basically proof of travel NFTs, which are comprised of all the information relevant to your trip, not only where you went, but the things that you did while there, the places you eat, the places you stay, the places you play. And then over time, you collect more of these things to then curate lists and share with others as recommendations. So as you describe, I have my New York trip on my profile, the hotels that I stayed at, the restaurants we went to, all of these things. In the future, either someone I know or someone in the network needs recommendations for New York, they can come to my profile and see, hey, Sam took this trip to New York in September of 2024. Here are the things that he did. I'm going to book and take action based upon the information because I know that Sam is a traveler that I could trust. And then when that booking action is taken by making a hotel reservation, making a dining reservation, booking a tour, whatever the case may be, I get rewarded on the back end for that with basically an interoperable loyalty point / maybe token in the future, which then allows me to redeem for various travel benefits. So like I think altogether, it's just a cool place to like collect digital souvenir NFTs when you travel, to as a baseline to share what you do when you travel, but then unlocking the reward structure where when those things inspire others to book their travels, you get benefits from it.
That something like that, I think, would be a really interesting thing to eventually be integrated into something like Instagram, right? Where everybody is taking pictures of where they go, this, that, and the other. I'm sure, Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, based on his history, if he sees this interview, It might not be a good thing because he's, one of those people. But I think that would be a cool implementation or something to be integrated into future Web3 integrations of Twitter. I think that'd be a lot of fun. It's like, hey, look,
I think
this is what I've done.
Yeah, that's all true. But on the Instagram one in particular, like Instagram's a very noisy place, and there's a reason why we don't really use that for travel recommendations in a direct fashion today. It may be in DMs, but a lot of it's just through like sharing Google Docs and sharing lists separately in Apple Notes and Google Docs and spreadsheets and the like. So Google Pins even. So it's very fragmented. It's very disjointed. And if I were to compare it, because one of the questions we get from investors a lot is like, well, why wouldn't I do this on Instagram? And how are you going to take people away from Instagram? And our answer is we're not trying to. Like we will never say that we're a competitor to Instagram. We think Instagram is great for what it is, which is for window shopping. Which if I look at the highlights of someone's newsfeed, I can get a quick glimpse at like, okay, it's someone who likes to travel a lot. Here's a few places they might have been. But if I'm someone who's planning a trip to a very specific place, I have a hard time gleaning out the information I need from their Instagram profile.
Yeah.
And so what we envision is this world where I have my presentation in my Instagram newsfeed to say, hey, I'm someone that enjoys travel and has been to a lot of cool places. If you want to deep dive my experience and book that for yourself, check out my link in bio to see where I've been on Mintpass. And that is the destination you then click through to in order to make some of these experiences that I provided the highlight reel of more actionable and more information driven.
That's awesome. I really love that. I mean, I think that's a really innovative use of that. I mean, filling that gap, right? Filling that gap between being able to see where people in your network, are going, what they're doing, and how they're enjoying it, right? You could put bad recommendations or like you can like tell people that you didn't like a certain experience as well through Mintpass as well. Isn't that true?
That's exactly true. And we're inspired a lot. It's kind of a weird comp, but we're inspired a lot by Rotten Tomatoes as like a movie reviews platform where, and this is a matter of my own personal opinion, but like, I'm just not someone that leaves reviews. Like I don't really want to have to rate on a scale of 5 stars. How was the service? How was the food? How was the ambiance? How was, I don't know, whatever else you could rate with a restaurant review. What I do is like, do I recommend it or do I not recommend it? And that is ultimately like what matters to people. And that's why we're doing just a quick, like you log it, you give it a thumbs up or thumbs down as in, do you recommend it or do you not recommend it? And then that is all you need to input into the app. And that altogether becomes a de facto review system, much like Rotten Tomatoes does, where in that world, I think it's fresh or rotten. So like if it's a good movie, it's fresh. If it's a bad movie, it's rotten. And that in aggregate becomes, 80% rated fresh, which essentially means that it's a 4 out of 5 stars, which means it's a good movie. And we see it very similar. Like if 80% of people recommend something, it's probably a good restaurant. If 10% recommend it, then it probably sucks. So trying to like, we're taking the onus off of the individual to say like, be super content and data driven on what it is they're putting forward as a recommendation and relying on what actually matters, which is just like, do you recommend it or do you not? And to your point, we want to build credibility around not only what you recommend, but what you don't recommend. And frankly, if you recommend things that suck, you in a way will be penalized because no one wants shitty recommendations. So the whole fabric of this only works if people are having positive outcomes to people's recommendations, and thus the real incentives take place when not only when you make recommendations, but when people take you up on those recommendations and have a good time because of it.
Absolutely. Well, okay. So here's my favorite question to ask all the time. I always ask this question. If you could go anywhere in the world and eat anything, where are you eating? What are you ordering? And, the check's on someone else. What is your like main dish? What's your like dessert? What are you drinking with it? Paint us a picture.
Is this supposed to be somewhere we've been or somewhere that we want to go?
Either one of the two. You can eat anything anywhere in the world. Charles will fly you out on his Black Hawk to get there.
What a treat. No, I'm actually going to defer because this is a very critical point to travel recommendations at large, where so often people will bank really critical travel decisions, like where to eat at a restaurant, like which seems mundane. Like who cares? It's just like you pick a restaurant. But when you have 3 days in a foreign land that you may never be back to, if you burn a meal on a shitty restaurant, like that's damaging to your, like so damaging to your larger experience. So what you choose and where to eat is so critical, which is why for this answer, I'm going to pick somewhere that I've been, because I don't want to risk it calling out a place that may or may not be good just because I may have heard about it somewhere. So I'm going to pick somewhere that I have been. And in fact, I'm going to pick somewhere to double down on the answer that's in New York that I went to 3 weeks ago, because it's like my go-to recommendation for New York. Because you think of like, it's an Italian place, and you think like Italian food in New York, it's like, nah, like it's a dime a dozen. You could throw a stone and hit an Italian place no matter where you are in Manhattan. But this place is so freaking good. It's called Campagnola, and that's like if people ask me for New York recommendations, yeah, I'll give you the link to put in the notes of this for anyone that wants to check it out. But
I'll put it in there.
It's so good, and if anyone goes to New York, it's like my one recommendation. Just like it's like I've had other things that are good, but like if you go to one place, if you trust me in one thing, it's this place, and I've never been proven wrong. Whoever's gone there so far. And I mean, I could just go for days on what I'd order. If I had an unlimited budget, I'd just get everything. I would literally get the entire menu and have like a bite of each, and like I take the rest to go and give it to the homeless people in New York, because I just want to try it all, and I want others to be able to share it.
That sounds like a bull market activity for the gang to go try all of the food there. You know what I mean?
Yes. They have this like chalkboard they bring out of the specials every day that they change on a daily basis depending on what they have available. And it would literally be like, I will have all of it. Like that is just take that chalkboard and take it back to the kitchen and give them that as my order.
That sounds awesome. I mean, it sounds delicious. I cannot remember now that I'm trying to remember the name of the place, but at Rare Evo, the team took myself and 4 others, the VIP burners, to a restaurant that was there in the Caesars. Oh my goodness. And they let us order almost everything on the menu. I'll say my favorite particular memory about this was that, well, it was the first time I had like Wagyu, the Wagyu filet was something else. It was absolutely crazy. And then, so the guys, or most of the guys, they'd already ordered like Red Bull vodkas, right? So something about myself is I'm a little bit of an expert when it comes to specifically like tequilas and mezcal. And so I was like, hey, can I order like whatever I want? You know, they got a camera crew there. They took some videos of us, you know, eating stuff and like hanging out and talking and stuff. And they were like, yeah, you can order whatever you want. So then I was like, oh, I can order whatever I want. The waiter comes over and I'm like, hey, bring me the bottle of Clase Azul. I want you to pour it for me at the table, and then I'm going to hit the bell on top. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Clase Azul, but it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was going to say an absolutely remarkable tequila. Really good, really smooth. It's an añejo, so it's like a little bit more caramely. Yeah, anyways, it was like a $75 pour, of course. And then I had them record me while I ding the bell on top for everybody. And everybody was so shocked and astonished that you know, I asked for something that nobody had ever heard of, like, period. It's a hand-painted vase. Yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, that place was delicious. Very expensive, but delicious. I would have Mintpassed my experience there so that
next time.
Next time, which, you know, next time is going to be soon. And I hear that there's going to be a whole lot of cross-chain people, a lot of Solana people, and a lot of the cross-chain influencers that I was surprised to see there. You know, they posted about it later, right? Not while they were there, but they were having a blast, you know, loudmouth.eth, profits over wages. You know, there was a handful of really big cross-chain influencers that were having a blast out there.
Yeah, it was. I'd say above all things, it was fun, and that's really the mark of a good event. But regardless of, you know, we all want to see business results from the things that we do. But if you just have like the baseline of like the worst cases, you have fun. That's not a bad place to be at all.
Absolutely, hands down. So then let's see. What else do you all have going on? If somebody wants to be involved in Mintpass, what is the best way that they can be involved in it? And do you have any new announcements coming up? I'm trying to front run the space that I know that you have tomorrow.
Yeah, we're super early. We're very early, so it's a good time for anyone who does want to get involved. I'd say the biggest the biggest thing to do is just go to our website and sign up with your email and make sure you're on the list for updates. And I guess the alpha would be that as of recording of this, I don't know when you're going to publish it, but it's October
Saturday.
7th today. We will be live in the coming weeks, and it's going to be on an invite-only basis. And in order to be included in the first wave, you have to have signed up via the website. So that is like, here's the chance to do that. We don't share this publicly, but this is that alpha. Like, sign up now if you want to get access. Otherwise, you'll have to have an invite in order to get it. So there's that. Other than that, like, we just have product being shipped and updates to follow once we're in app stores. That's the next big milestone for us, is being available on both iOS and Android devices. And once we are, you'll be able to go in and collect those digital souvenirs, as I have behind the scenes in our closed beta, as I described, for the past several months. And I'm really excited for feedback. That's really what our North Star is right now, is just getting people into the app, getting people using it, and getting them to, whether it be celebrated or talk shit on it, doesn't really matter to us, because other way we can improve. So that is most helpful, and that is what we'd like. And that this now is the chance to get in early.
So what I grasped from that is thumbs up or thumbs down. Both feedback are positive feedback. So
yes, exactly. We win either way.
All right. So the last, probably the last question that I have here is a little bit more personal one, if it's okay for me to ask this.
Sure.
Right now. Okay. So how's a baby? Did it happen yet? Or is it, you know what I mean? Is it still cooking?
Yeah, it's still cooking. So we're at 35 weeks yesterday.
Jeez.
So we're in the home stretch. So
Home stretch.
It's coming, which I will say that the stress of always on Web3 pales in comparison to the stress of impending fatherhood, but in the best way. And it puts everything in perspective.
It's a girl too? It's going to be a girl?
No, it's a boy.
Oh, it's a boy. Okay, well, that's easier. That's a little bit to a certain extent.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier just because, like, I mean, it's messed up that the world is this way, but, like, just the amount of worry and concerns you have are considerably less. I definitely, I've got a 15-year-old girl, and that makes me nervous all the time.
Yeah, well, I think that's what I quickly found out, is there's always, even through the process so far, there's always something else to worry about, and it's never going to get better. So I think really part of the adjustment is just getting accustomed to the state of perpetual worry, and just finding comfort and peace in that when it's sometimes difficult to do, but all part of the journey. I'm one of 6 kids. My wife's one of 4. So we come from big families, and we have nieces and nephews already. So we're just excited to be embarking on this new chapter and trying, as a founder and crypto person, trying to keep sanity through it all, because markets will come and go, but this is a rather more permanent thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I think that we talked about this a little bit before. I definitely feel like that there's like a level up, like a change in your perspective, that it's your time frame. Your time preference changes once you have a family, right? You've expanded to that, taken that step. And there was actually a period of time in my life where I was like, man, like, I'm doing really good. But I think that if my perspective was changed and my worldview changed in this kind of way, that then the bigger things would be a lot smaller, right? It's like your goals change in such a huge way. But I'm excited for you. I'm excited that you're going to go through that. And then, I mean, I could see very quickly, relatively quickly, after that first, oh crap moment, you know what I mean? I could see Mintpass taking off pretty parabolically, because there's definitely a very big difference in working for yourself, even when you're working for yourself and, you know, your wife, but working for the little one that has no choice, doesn't get a vote in it, is completely different. So I'm excited for you. I think that's awesome. And yeah, man. But I appreciate your time today. This was, you know, fantastic, and we've had a great time. We'll have to do it again when Mintpass has some exciting announcements, so that I can break it first, right? So I can.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing, is like a lot of what's noteworthy is behind the scenes and not worth announcing. But then once we're live, then obviously that changes. So We'll have much more to talk about in the not so distant future. And yeah, looking forward to coming back and being able to share more of that as we go along.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. I hope you have an excellent day. And everybody, make sure that you sign up for Mintpass if you haven't yet. And I'm pretty sure you can probably get in on that QR code he has strategically placed behind him. Yeah.
That
And,
is to the
get
website.
that picture there. Yep. Sign up to the website. Remember, you still have time to not have to be in the invite only phase. And so, without further ado, we'll call it and we'll see you again on the next one. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me.